Dumb, cool,
and weird
podcast. All right, folks, welcome to the Dumb, Cool, Weird podcast. And today we're going to have my friend Ryan Dover, who is an expert on conspiracy theories, because today we're doing
conspiracy theories.
Wacky conspiracy theories. And we also have a fourth person here. We have the demon present.
Hello.
We have allowed Satan to talk to us now.
Yes. And he's going to be our basically like our Alexa, but from hell.
Well, you know, everybody has a niche.
So how many dicks can Hitler put in his ass?
Oh, here we go. It's always, I always wait for the Hitler comment. Like, is he down here? Like, how about we just not talk about it? Let's leave him alone with the pineapple.
Okay, what about Abe Lincoln? Is he down there too with Gandhi?
Gandhi's definitely down here.
Okay, good.
Well, Gandhi. Well, I wanted to get started because I have three that I've kind of written down that I want to talk about. So the one I want to start off with is the flat Earth conspiracy.
Oh, it's not a conspiracy.
It is.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's definitely a conspiracy.
Which will actually kind of go into one of mine.
Yeah. So kind of started off. The funny thing is about the flat Earth conspiracy is the Earth was proven round like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
With like basically using simple tools and measurements and stuff.
So, Greeks.
Yeah,
the Greeks.
Magellan.
Yeah.
He figured it out.
Yeah. So I find it interesting that people still kind of hold on to that. And not to mention, we literally have a live feed from space that shows, like, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
You can watch it anytime you want of like from space. Not to mention what just happened recently. William Shatner went up to space.
Jeff Bezos went to space too.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. You think William Shatner is going to be able to keep a secret like that?
Final frontier.
He's pretty stupid.
Yeah, he's pretty stupid. That's the thing that people don't realize about conspiracy theories and like weird conspiracy theories like that, is that human beings are really bad at lying. First of all, like really, really bad at lying. So something like that would slip out, and we would have already known about it by now. You know.
Well, the whole flat Earth thing is based on religion. You know, there's supposed to be like the firmament, and then there's like ice walls or something crazy like that.
Apparently the stars are not real either.
Oh,
They're actually balls of ice.
Interesting.
That's a real thing, huh?
Oh, yeah. And gravity doesn't exist for flat Earth, too.
Yeah, and supposedly the sun actually revolves around, the Earth, which that was disproven like 500 years ago. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, it's kind of crazy what people will latch onto as far as ideas. I mean, I don't really know much about the flat Earth thing because I just think it's ridiculous. You know, I'm a land surveyor. So, like, you can, like, when you travel more than a mile when you're land surveying, you have to have a program that figures in the curvature of the Earth or it won't be accurate.
Yeah.
You know?
So supposedly the ice sheet is where Antarctica is, and I actually know 4 people that have been to Antarctica.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, they've taken pictures there. Like, I've seen the pictures, like of them on the continent, and it's like, what would it take to convince these people? Are we gonna have to put them in Jeff Bezos' dick rocket and shoot them up into space?
They might need this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably so.
it's kind of interesting though to go on with Antarctica not existing or being the ice wall, right?
Yeah.
They believe that Australia isn't real,
Yeah.
which is kind of what goes into one of my conspiracies that Australia doesn't exist, folks. All right, how many Australians have you actually met in life?
I've met a handful.
Yeah, they're out there.
Exactly.
Of course, they could be coached.
No,
you never know.
No. But here's the thing, though. How do we know they're not actors for NASA? And that Australia is not a real place. It's actually just a cleared out section of Amazon forest in South America. So every time you actually think you're going to Australia, you're just going to South America.
Oh, interesting. I've heard what you're talking about though about the Australia thing. Like, people will be like, Australia doesn't exist, and then you'll see like a video of somebody in Australia, and they're like, what the fuck?
WTF, mate?
Yeah, it's like it feels pretty real to me.
I'm out here in the down end.
I mean, Australia's unbelievable for other reasons, but I mean, it definitely exists.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
But here,
some of the creatures that spawn from there seems like it might be from another planet, but you know.
they have everything on Australia. It really is designed to kill you. It's just like you probably shouldn't live here, but people do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I mean, Australia is one of those places that I kind of want to visit, but I kind of don't at the same time.
So, to go into what the new, like how it's been like revamped past the flat Earth theory, is there's a belief that in 1770 the British just sailed off into this part of the ocean and came up with a mythical land called Australia, and they just been dumping prisoners in this part of the world forever, and that apparently all the nations of the world who hated each other historically at this period of time went up with this cover-up for some reason.
Yeah, but I just don't see how that would fly for too long because, I mean, you can literally look at satellite view. Well, they probably don't think satellites are real.
Well, no, because but no, they don't. They believe that that's also a myth.
All right, so I think this is like kind of interesting because the flat Earth thing you brought up about religion has been like a catalyst. Quite legitimately, over 5,000 years ago, in like the Jewish Bible, it actually talks about the Earth. Yeah, the Torah actually talks about the Earth being round. So they knew then, they said actually referred to me as being a sphere. So they understood this and also understood that, like, made references about the Earth revolving around the sun. How ironic is it that for some reason religion, modern day, or I say modern day Christianity, 1,000 years ago Christianity, they used to get persecuted for saying that the Earth was round. That was like heresy.
And also that it was also heresy for the Earth to revolve around the sun.
Interesting.
That's true. That is true. They used to kill people.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Someone failed.
I failed huge. Sorry.
This is
Airplane mode, don't fix that.
Well, it's okay.
It's okay.
It was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah. So we'll just keep going though. It's all good.
It's all good, but
Sorry about that.
No, it's cool.
So what else have you discovered about the flat Earth theory?
So the interesting thing about these people is they keep trying to disprove gravitational theory. They keep trying to, law of gravity, really, because it's a law, it's not a theory. And they keep trying to disprove the laws of physics, too. And the way they keep doing this is by doing these dumb little experiments where they take, like, they'll literally go to, like, a place and they'll look out and they'll be like, oh, look, you look at the horizon. The horizon ends right there. But what they don't realize is that it's actually an optical illusion with how the with like when you perceive something with your eyes. And so it's like your eyes are very unreliable, and that's why we use instruments to figure out the curvature of the Earth.
Yes.
So that's like one thing that they try to do. But a really funny thing that happened like a couple years ago is they tried to disprove that the Earth was round or a sphere. And what happened was they actually ended up pointing to it actually being a sphere when they did their experiment. Which was
it was in
really
that
fun.
documentary.
Yeah.
They used a laser to do it, which was actually that was pretty fun.
Yeah, and
It's
actually
also like light bends.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. And light bends even with gravity.
yeah.
Well, I spent a little time online arguing with some flat earthers for a while, and
Was it Shaq?
not particularly. But I realized pretty quickly that it was kind of a waste of time. But one of the things that I would talk about is like one of the things they would particularly mention is how does the ocean, if it's round, how does the ocean stay put? And I was like, well, gravity. You're trying to explain how gravity works with the gravitational pull from the center of the Earth. And the best way I could explain it to them, and they still didn't get it, is if you take a bucket and fill it with water and you spin it really quickly. It's like think of the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour or something like that.
I think it spins at. I think it spins at.
It's about 1,000 miles per hour.
Is it 1,000?
Yeah, and so you think about a bucket, spinning that fast. Of course, the water is gonna, cohese to the center of it.
A good
Still didn't get it out of it.
But a really good experiment that they do on the space station to prove that gravity exists is they show how molecules, specifically like big clumps of like water and dust and stuff, what they'll do is they'll throw it up in the air. And what it'll do is they'll be floating freely, but then eventually what will happen is they'll start clumping together, making like almost like a sphere like object. And that's because of the gravitational pull eventually pulls it together and it starts having a clumping effect. And that's kind of how our solar system formed. Billions of years ago. It was from like a clumping effect with the accretion disk from the sun. Basically,
Yeah, they actually said that in the space station when the first time they've ever made a perfect sphere was actually in the space station because of it being in space, everything's weightless, so it bonded to itself, like the water bonded, and they actually had pictures of the perfect sphere. And you're right, by the way, it is roughly 1,000. It actually makes a lot of sense because we have 24 time zones, and if you think about that, like if you do the math behind that, it's roughly about. They said that's what it says, roughly 8,000 miles. I feel like I should know this as Satan. I should know everything.
Well, I mean,
Lucifer is the light bringer. You should know all the knowledge. Okay?
Telling you.
I mean, he's got things to do. All right, got to cut him some slack every now and again.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus decided to crucify himself to forgive us of all our sins.
We're
and all
friends
we do
now, by the way. Me and Jesus, we're friends.
Oh, you guys hang out?
We hang out now.
So why were you
He
trying to
brings the
lead him?
wine.
Shop talk, you know, you gotta.
Whoa.
Why were you trying to lead him astray in the desert all those times?
I mean,
Was this to fuck with him?
We had a little animosity towards each other.
Okay.
And now, I mean, we still do, but I mean, you know, he brings the water and turns into wine for me. I get sloshed. He makes sure I get in an Uber.
That's not a bad setup.
So how much
He's still a giver.
How does an Uber cost you anything in hell if you own it?
Why do you think I'm always in hell?
Keep your friends closer and your enemies closer. You know. Plus, I mean, if you're a deity at that level, I mean, who are you gonna identify with? You know.
So
You gotta have friends who know your true pain.
Look, I'm only scared of one person, Hillary Clinton.
okay, that does make sense. So do you feel like she's going to take over your super Detroit Chicago atmosphere?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
that is kind of threatening.
Scares the hell out of me.
Well, there you go. There you go.
News from hell.
News from hell. But you know what I think's interesting? I think the only time that these people are really gonna
Yeah.
be like cockroaches underneath a rock and they're not gonna be relevant anymore is when space travel becomes like very commercial, where people are constantly going into space. You know?
Yeah.
People are too stubborn. They're still going to argue their point. They're going to be like, look, that's obviously a picture. I'm not going to go into space. And the pictures you're bringing back, that can't be real. Because we've had pictures of like
Yes.
the spherical of the Earth. And I mean, like curvature of the Earth is easy to prove. It's like the easiest thing to prove. But yet they can't accept it. That's like the most basic of basic.
Yeah.
They do come up with a lot of mental gymnastics on how this is not real. Like they will create their own set of knowledge just to disprove you.
Yeah.
Well, it
dig
goes
in that
into
hole.
confirmation bias, which kind of relates to all these conspiracy theories. Is no matter what you want to believe, you're going to find some sort of confirmation bias or some sort of list of things that sort of lead you in the direction, even if it's not objective truth. You know, you're gonna find someone to be like, yeah, it's not shaped that way, and or you know whatever you personally believe. You're gonna find somebody on Earth to agree with you.
Yeah.
Especially with the internet, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Should be worrying though, because these people have kids, and those kids go to school, and those kids know your kids eventually, and then your kid has to bully that kid.
You gotta learn somehow.
Yeah, and that's pretty much like the it in a nutshell when it comes to the flat Earth theory. It's basically just a bunch of like a lot of people what they say it is. It's kind of like the same level as the Bigfoot people. They're just a bunch of lonely guys who probably haven't gotten laid in a very, very long time, and they have nothing else better to do but talk about flat Earth theory. Because that's the theory behind the Bigfoot people too. The people who really believe in Bigfoot, they wear like the hats with the the accessory cargo shirt, and they actually both kind of look the same too. I've kind of noticed that too.
They got the cameras just
they
in
got the
case
camera.
they see Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Like, in
I see
whatever
Bigfoot.
bumfuck town they're in.
It's like that episode of South Park where they were trying to find the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's a Chupacabra, we found it. Like that, and their mouths are all like exaggerated and shit.
That's good.
It's honestly, it's the only way that you can say that name right is if you do that. I mean, let's just be real.
Cryptids, however, like that's the most fun. Those are the most fun conspiracy theories, if you ask me. Because, I mean, technically, just because they don't have evidence doesn't mean it doesn't exist in a sense of like other creatures that haven't been discovered. And
Well, the thing is, a lot of these creatures existed. They just weren't like what they're saying they are. Like for instance, Bigfoot. They've discovered a skeleton over in Asia where it was like basically like a gigantic orangutan. It was like
something Pithecus.
something like that. Giant Pithecus. It was like an ape that was like 4 times bigger than a human. Like this thing was freaking massive. So if you're thinking about like a Bigfoot, I mean that's probably about the closest you're gonna get to something like that. And
Most likely.
Yeah, same thing with like, when people talk about dragons and shit. I mean, a lot of people think that when people like ancient people when they talked about dragons, what they really were talking about they were finding dinosaur fossils, and they were like trying to make sense of those fossils.
Or Komodo dragons.
Yeah, no, that's actually like the funny part. I like the stories about how we disprove the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But quite legitimately, they talk about dragons over and over again in the Bible, and The term dinosaur, I could be wrong, but I'm not.
Terrible lizard.
Yeah, that name dinosaur didn't come into existence until the 19th century. So if you think about that, that's pretty recent.
And the funny thing is, most dinosaurs probably didn't look like lizards. Most of them looked more like what we would consider like a bird.
So do you think Nessie is a plesiosaurus?
Maybe.
See, I'm not even against thinking that like that could possibly be real. I mean, when it comes to, if we want to be honest, like we know more about space than we do about the ocean.
Yeah.
Still,
exactly.
so
Yeah, we thought the colossal squid was a conspiracy, like made up creature, and then they found it.
yeah, I mean, and that was recent too. That was like in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some megalodons and some other things in there because
Could be.
They do
There's a
sonar,
lot.
but I mean,
They do say that the problem with the megalodon theory is how much it would have to consume.
Well, to sustain a population, I think you need like 32 individuals to sustain a population. So you'd have to have at least 32 males and females.
But they do always have these very large shark sightings along South Africa.
I mean, it's
See,
possible.
I mean, that's the thing. I can't really get behind the shark thing. I think that would cause so much damage to a population that would be like seen.
Yeah.
Sharks are not super deep water. Most are not super deep water.
Well, and I mean, but it's
They'd have
not,
to
it's
consume.
not only that. Megalodons were competing with water dinosaurs too for food. So that's why like that food chain works in that way, because there's other large creatures in the ocean with them that they were competing
Yeah.
for
right.
food with.
To go back for a second for the Bigfoot,
Yeah.
I'm not going to even try to say the name of the giant orangutan they found in, but the height of it was 12 feet tall. That's a big boy. The women folk were 9, and the women were weighing around 600 pounds, which I feel like that's pretty slender for, if you think about it. I mean,
Well, technically, with today's body positivity, she could like get in there with 600 pounds, my 600-pound life, and do great.
the males were 42% heavier than the women. So that's 1,000 pounds?
It's a 1,000-pound animal.
Yeah.
1,000-pound gigantic orangutan.
well, since
Yeah.
we're back to Bigfoot, I remember hearing some like, it's kind of just hearsay, I guess, at this point, but it's something about the Native Americans sort of had oral traditions about.
They
certain-
gave him oral.
Yeah, you know.
That and the Wendigo.
The Wendigo, yeah. But no, supposedly the Native Americans had oral traditions about Bigfoot or like large, I guess you could say,
Ape-like
orangutan.
creatures?
Yeah. So I mean, another version of the Gigantus Pithecus or whatever could have
Like a story, like a story that was passed down from, because I mean,
Yeah.
humans have been around in our current form for like 100,000 years or something like that. So
I mean, maybe in your belief.
yeah. So what?
In your belief, I mean,
Oh, you talking about like young Earth creationists?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one too.
That's another conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
well, conspiracy. All conspiracies are conspiracies until they're proven that they're real.
No.
Oh, all a conspiracy is two people that sort of plan something against somebody, really.
No.
kind of what we were planning with our one conspiracy theory, which involves an MMA fighter if we can get him in on it.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is, so my one conspiracy theory that I have is that actually Michael Moore is Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh.
That, she's dressing up as a man.
But wait, why not the other way around?
Have you seen him, Shim?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Have you
Rosie
seen him in the
O'Donnell
same
in a long
place?
time.
I've seen Michael
you're
Moore.
right.
He's the only one I'm not going to let into hell.
So wait a minute. Why wouldn't it make sense though? That Michael Moore is the guy is dressing up like Rosie O'Donnell every now and again.
No, Rosie O'Donnell is dressing up as Michael Moore
Yeah, no, but I'm saying why can't it work the other way around?
because I know things.
Okay, Satan.
I know things.
Yes, sir.
Both have penises. It doesn't matter.
Or
You
what?
can confirm this, right?
Or today it's not technically out of ordinary to have a female penis. Apparently,
An Audi.
yes.
I've
an
seen a
outs-
couple Audis on the road today.
Oh, yes. An outside vagina.
Well, that's an interesting conspiracy.
But it's even worse.
What?
The birds.
Oh, the birds with the cameras.
No. All birds aren't real.
Yeah. They're a
Since
figment.
since the 1950s.
Oh, so it's a conspiracy.
That explains the evil eyes.
Yeah. So apparently the birds haven't existed since the 1950s. In the 1950s, this whole conspiracy came out that the birds aren't real. They're government drones.
Oh, wow.
But that makes it a little weird. But what's interesting about this one is that Started in the 1950s, went on to the 1970s, and just kind of lost a little bit of its weight for a little while. Then in like 2000, I think it was like 16 or 17, if I remember correctly, it came back. And it came back as a joke. But then somebody took it like seriously, and there's a whole movement called the birds don't exist.
Yeah, do you know where the basis behind this is? Like the biggest evidence? Have you ever seen a baby pigeon?
Yeah. So there are baby pigeons. Now,
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Not since the 1950s.
Yeah, that's right. 1950s, we wiped out all baby pigeons and we replaced them with cameras that spy on people.
Yeah. Because most of the population is a big threat.
Yes. So you see, what happens is and people started saying like, well, what about well, how do we know that their internal batteries, are working and everything? Well, you see the bird poop, that's their system cleaning out the battery acid.
So are they solar powered birds?
No, actually, so what they do is they hang out. Why they hang out on those power lines is to recharge themselves.
Oh, okay. So their feet are kind of like conductors, right?
Yeah, and you want to know why other birds eat other birds?
What's that?
It's a failsafe. So the government decided, wait, it would be weird if we're just like picking up our own cameras and everything, right? So like we have to design birds that go after our other cameras that fall apart. So they eat them.
Oh, interesting.
So is this where all the metadata that Edward Snowden was talking about? Is that they're collecting it just slowly?
Yes.
Just like eating data, creating a database of everything everywhere.
Have you ever tried to like pick up a bird?
An 8-dimensional map of the universe. Have I tried to pick up a bird?
Yeah, and then a bunch of other birds attack you. They're trying to defend that camera. You see, they don't want you figuring things out.
Safe.
Yeah.
Fail safe. Yeah. I actually have chickens, and I'm pretty sure they're not robotic, but
No, chickens are real.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like they're like bird light. Now, I will tell you, penguins are not real birds. They're the Submariner version.
Russian drones. Yeah.
They're Yes, they're the Russian water drones.
So why do we keep them in our zoos? Is so that we could study them until
Oh,
the
no,
Russians crack?
No. We figured it out. So like we captured them. See, the Americans were so prideful. Oh wait, I say Americans. You're Canadian.
I'm American now.
Canadian. So yeah, no, like they built such a good drone. It's the first good thing they've ever built, and it looks so real that
This explains so much.
And they're getting good data. I mean, like look how many soccer moms go to the Georgia Aquarium.
Probably get railed out by the guy who's supposed to be taking care of them.
Well, I mean, they don't really even eat fish.
No. When I was actually at the zoo, I was at the aquarium here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. The funniest shit was when we went to the penguins. They looked like they were having a town meeting. So this only confirms even further that they are Russian drones because they're probably trying to plot their way out.
Yeah.
They have a hierarchy and everything too. There was like a king and queen penguin, like standing up there. So clearly and then they have their like little underlings like lined up. So they're learning. They're trying to get out, get back to Mother Russia, so that they could save the Soviet Union.
I'd like to see a schizophrenic person try to dissect one of these birds and see what happens.
Well, you see, that's the thing though. Birds hate people with
That's
mental
going to be
illness.
a horrible day, right?
Oh yeah, they'll attack
It's like
them.
this is a real bird. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like,
Yeah, a lot of people find out that their birds don't actually love them, so they throw them in the fire when they find out that they're a camera. Burn away all the evidence.
Holy shit.
All right, so I am kind of curious. Like, what about like emus? And
Oh no, those are all-terrain assault birds.
all-terrain emus and are
Cassowaries.
Are ostriches from Africa?
ostriches, yeah,
They're from Africa.
I believe so, yeah.
And then what emus? Where are they from?
Australia.
Oh, hang on. You just said that Australia does not exist.
That's the part that's weird though. You see, the people who don't believe birds exist think that the people who believe Australia doesn't exist are crazy.
But they build all these creatures on the dark side of the moon, apparently, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
Where the Nazi base is.
And the skeletons.
No. Supposedly.
Seriously, emus are kind of the devil, though, as far as animals go. I don't know if you've ever encountered an emu personally. They look at you like they're going to kill you, and then you have that feeling that they possibly could at the same time.
Apparently, the next big one is the cassowary. So this is sent out by the government because it's a vegetarian bird that likes killing people. So this is an all-terrain bird that goes out and hunts human beings who might be suspicious.
Are you sure it's just not a bad office temp with a bad attitude? That's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, that's where us rational folks to decide. We don't make the rules, though.
Because, like, you know, it just sounds like a bird that's really sick of his job, and you know, it just goes and kills people.
No, a bird that's sick of his job is a platypus.
Yeah.
He gave
No, the
up
platypus
so much.
isn't a bird.
It has a bill.
It's a reptile.
Actually, it doesn't lay eggs, does it?
Yeah,
Oh no,
it lays
It
eggs.
lays eggs.
It's the
It
only-
also has a poisonous stinger.
It's the only mammal that lays eggs.
Yeah, and it has like a barb.
You know, and people thought that was a hoax and a conspiracy once upon a time
It was
too.
pretty recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 100 years ago. They didn't think it was real.
So, speaking of baby platypus, have you ever looked at a baby platypus? It's adorable.
Yeah, it is.
They are kinda cute.
and it's very dangerous too. You know.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's from Australia too. The place that doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, it's probably from there. You know who doesn't have an opinion that we have to care about, by the way?
What's that?
Canadians.
Yeah.
You want to know why?
What's that?
Because Justin Trudeau is the son of Fidel Castro.
Wow.
Wow. That's actually
Dude,
pretty
you dropping some knowledge on me, dude.
Now,
I don't know what I'm gonna do with that.
if you ever
all
look
makes
at
sense.
Justin Trudeau compared to the rest of his family, does not look even remotely similar. Like all of Justin Trudeau's brothers look like they're all related, and then Justin Trudeau exists, and you're just like, man, the first lady of Canada was a fucking whore.
Well, someone's not going to be allowed back in the state of Canada.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
banned.
So
Well,
blame
one-
another one on communism, y'all. Apparently, it's those commies.
No,
coming back.
that makes sense though,
It
because
just keeps coming back. You
because,
can't fight it.
Because Pierre Trudeau, his father, his supposed father, looks like the kind of guy who likes watching people fuck his wife. So that makes perfect sense. Thank God he's dead now. Goddamn communist.
Wow.
I'm waiting for a knock on the door.
It's not going to happen.
We're
All right?
about to
The
get
Cubans
busted.
aren't known for being able to infiltrate people's places. I mean,
you're gonna hear like a bird out there going, like it flies off.
well, you see, the birds can't see us.
But they got microphones then?
They do, but here's the problem. They can't see us unless we move.
No.
And because we have a curtain, they can't see us.
Does that make Birdman a part of the conspiracy too?
No, Birdman's not real.
So he's an android.
Yes.
So is he the android that kind of controls all the birds, like in his part of the region that he lives in?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a series of Birdmen.
So when he's in his songs and he goes, he's really like calling the birds like to go do something.
Yeah, he's actually a very smart government agent
Yeah.
that was created in a lab.
Gotcha.
And the 5G is like the Fifth Reich of the bird movement, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because once 5G gets turned into 6G, we're going to have some serious problems.
Yeah.
They're just plotting away.
No.
So
Well,
that they could...
the original Birdman, what started it all, was a guy named Robert Stroud.
Oh.
Do you remember? Do you know who Robert Stroud is?
No.
He was the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Oh.
The government tried to lock him down, and they couldn't do it because the birds kept on still coming to him, and he kept on talking to him from Alcatraz.
It's amazing.
Yeah, those birds. He knew how to communicate with them back then.
The burbs.
So maybe he was the real one, and they've been cloning him sort of and trying to control him with android parts.
Yeah, because that's probably the best way to go about that. Try to like take away his like ability to think for himself.
You know, I feel like Alex Jones tried to help us out to prevent these things from happening when he infiltrated Bohemian Grove about 5 times.
Moloch was too strong. That's what it came out to.
Okay.
The spirit of Moloch has won.
Yes.
What? Just out of curiosity, what is a conspiracy theory that any one of you actually think is true?
Epstein for sure.
Epstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be something behind that. You don't just disappear from a jail.
Well, no,
He hasn't checked in yet.
No, but
Let me go ahead and let me clarify. He has not checked in with me, so he is still here.
Well, the weird things behind that is so strange. The camera happened to be turned off. The guards happened to not be looking, and his cellmate happened to be taken out the night before. That's just really bizarre.
Also, he's in a place that was designed to prevent people from killing themselves. He's like over. How tall was Epstein again, Satan?
I mean, I don't even know.
I don't think he was a very tall. Probably
He's not a
average.
tall man.
No, I mean he wasn't that
Average guy.
tall, but the ceiling in there, like the ceiling to the ground in these places, isn't large, isn't tall enough for him to like hang himself from some kind of ceiling fixture.
Yeah.
Also, the sheets in this prison are apparently like easy to tear. So there's no way that you can knot it up and not have it tear on you.
So is it like there's what you're saying is it's not logistically even possible that he could have done it the way they
Because
said
it's like
he did.
I mean they said like people in like San Quentin, for example, will like actually tie bed sheets around their neck and just like around the bars, and they'll just like lay down. Like they'll commit to committing suicide.
Yeah.
They're ready for it. They're like, I can't do San Quentin anymore. Time to die. Like there was no logistic way that he could have taken that many sheets and like put them together.
What did they put? What did he like tie it to? That's what I want to know. Because the people don't need to understand. These are not. If you ever see a modern day jail cell,
Yeah.
it's not the bars that you see. It's a steel door.
Yeah.
That's shut. So I'm still kind of curious.
They would probably say it was his bunk or his sink, but then that, like I said, that still leads to the fact that these are easy tear sheets.
Well, he was on suicide watch, if I remember right.
Yeah, that too.
So
And his roommate was supposedly like in the mob or something like that too. I don't know. So who knows? They could have offed him, if he was going for a plea deal. I mean, that's always an option.
Well, it's kind of like with the JFK thing, and the JFK thing was an inside job too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
well, it never got reported. Supposedly, his body was claimed by his brother. This is the part that I have a little confusion. This is something that never hit the news that I recall. But his body was claimed by his brother, and they've even reported that, I say they, like in like the news, but the news doesn't do crap anymore. They reported that he's in an unmarked grave. So my thing is like, okay, where's the accountability behind this? And
Yeah.
during an investigation, isn't he considered his body evidence?
Yeah.
So you release the body of it's still an active investigation. Like everything is still active. Just because somebody dies doesn't mean we don't want answers.
I'm going to go into kooky territory, but I'm going to go on a limb and say if you have powerful people in charge of any of these things, you could probably get away with just about anything.
I mean, that's why Weinstein got away with raping all those people.
Exactly. And, the whole Hitler conspiracy, there's only Russian evidence of Hitler's body ever being found.
Which has actually been turned out to actually be the bones of a female.
Exactly.
Well, he was a small little man.
No, but
that all makes sense.
There's like hunting Hitler with Tim Kennedy is a very interesting thing.
I haven't seen that one, but I mean, I've seen the documentaries about him moving to Argentina. There's pictures.
There's actually like little villages in Argentina that are very German to this day, and like apparently when he visited these people, like they have like pictures of the Fuhrer, like their grandparents' war medals and everything, like talking about how great Grandpa was. So it's not too far fetched on these people like getting out there.
I mean, go back to Antarctica. Supposedly the Germans had bases in Antarctica or south on the North Pole or something as well.
Yeah.
So
South America also protected so many Nazis. Like trying to think about his name, the Angel of Death.
Himmler.
No, Himmler was actually caught by the U.S. forces.
Yeah, he was caught.
Oh yeah.
No, the reason why there's a big German population and an Italian population in South America, when they realized that the war was not quite going their way, especially like the Italians, they went to as far away they possibly could from being convicted, which you're literally going to the other side of the earth and going south. So you actually see a lot in like Argentina, Chile, Peru even. So that's actually why really we got to thank them, because the Italian, especially the Italians, I mean the hell with the Germans, but we really got to thank the Italians because, well, we wouldn't have all the great wine that we do from South America if it wasn't that they ran. So thank you.
Jesus Christ, Satan.
Food makes everyone forgive,
But
That's what keeps families together. Let's just be real.
Another thing was the aspect of these these South American governments were willing to protect them, so they was probably like an exchange for money and information there that they could use.
Not to mention that they were pretty brutalist. Some of their,
Oh, yeah,
times. So it's like birds of a feather. They're not really democracies. They're doing pretty heinous acts themselves as far as murdering and ethnic cleansing and stuff. So it's like, hey,
South America's
come
full
have a
of that
drink.
shit.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the conspiracy goes though that a lot of the I'm trying to think of the doctor that they named the Angel of Death, but he kept experimenting on people while he was in South America.
Jeez.
I remember. I know his name. I can't think of it. It's not Goebbels. It's
Joseph.
it starts with a G.
No, it's an M.
Oh, Merkel.
No, that's the new prime minister.
Oh, damn it.
Say-
Mangelen.
Mangelen.
Mangelen or something like
Satan,
that.
help us.
I'm working on it.
Yes, yes.
He's got to look through his
He was
inventory
the
of
devil.
Nazis.
You should know him. He should be on your speed
Yes,
dial.
it's Joseph
Yeah,
Mangel.
Mangel. Yeah, yeah. That was a dark force right there. I read a little bit about the things he did. They would indoctrinate youth at a very early age to the point.
Oh,
where
yeah.
they
Oh,
were just-
Hitler's.
They were
Hitler-
just so brainwashed when.
It's Hitler's youth. Yeah.
Yeah.
He loved he loved experimenting on twins. Like he'd treat one twin very well, and then he'd torture the other twin, and eventually, once he got bored with them, he used them up in a sense, he'd kill them.
Yeah.
That was a sick thing about the Angel of Death, and the worst part is that he was a real doctor.
Yeah.
He was an actual doctor who did this to people. That's what people forget, is that this wasn't just like some crazy guy. This was a real doctor.
That's nuts.
Well, that just like it's like what is it? The one that they actually found a guy a few years ago. They found some remnants of his stuff, and he was actually like injecting gasoline into people's hearts. He went so far that he completely changed not only his name, but his faith and location. He became a fully devout Muslim.
Damn.
I guess that's a good cover. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like he wouldn't.
Gasoline into people's hearts. That's fucking bizarre.
Sounds like some crocodile kind of.
Yeah, but yeah, the Joseph Mengele. That's how you pronounce that name.
Yeah.
He kept Apparently, they're saying that he kept experimenting on people until the day he died. He would inject things into people's eyes and their bodies, burn them, cut pieces of them off.
Well, I mean,
Sick fuck.
at some point, you have to just
And that was
be appalled by some of the things that even people, not just him, but even doctors in general, got away with before up to that point.
Yeah.
At some point, like the Hippocratic Oath sort of became a thing, but early in the 1800s, they were doing some pretty horrible stuff then in the name of science as well.
But if you don't even identify a human being as a human being, you don't view what you're doing to them as inhumane.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's true. Well, the whole sterilization thing though actually started in America. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah, because see what happened is Hitler actually they would take people off and they would review their family history if like they had a history of criminality and stuff like that, and they would literally sterilize people or obviously destroy them.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but that movement actually started in California. There was I watched a public service announcement that was released in that, and it comes down to eugenicists. Like a lot of the world leaders at the time,
Margaret Sanger.
yeah, the royal family and all that, they actually agreed with what Hitler was doing until it became sort of commonly accepted globally that it was wrong. They're like, oh no, this is he's purifying the human race and all this stuff, and then once everyone started speaking out against it, all these people had to sort of retract, and retreat into the shadows. But a lot of the scientists in California, they I think they sterilized, I don't know, maybe like 50,000 people in California before Hitler actually sort of rose to its most power.
Jesus Christ.
It's also like conspiracy theories around all the companies that were aligned with German fascism.
Oh yeah,
Like Hershey's, Goodyear.
So I mean, the eugenicist
IBM.
thing is not a new thing though. I mean, it was even done with the Greeks. The Greeks did it. Actually, probably one of the most famous. We actually made a movie that where we talked about
Oh
it.
yeah, 300.
300.
Yeah, they,
that was
well-
the first to go ahead and get genetic defects out
Yeah.
to purify your race. But I mean, we did take it to another level in America, and we actually created whole towns. Like you started talking about in California, there was towns where the towns were purified. The pretty people. of California, and they were trying to like get the defects out.
Well, it was called social Darwinism, and it was kind of sort of like a Frankenstein version of the Darwinist belief. You know, some of these inner circles of
Social Darwinism has all the roots in like made up racial pseudoscience too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, certain groups latched onto it. You know, certain people probably were a little more humanistic with the idea. I mean, it's just like anything else. You know, you had groups that split off. But talking about the Nazi connection with monetarily, Brown Brothers Harriman was actually George. Let's see, what was his name? George Bush Senior.
Yep.
Senior's father.
Yeah.
Actually profited off of the labor at Auschwitz.
Yeah, he was actually after a while he was well known as being a fascist sympathizer.
Exactly, and you know it's kind of ironic that those people ended up. I mean, that person, I don't remember his name. I keep thinking Marvin Bush, but I don't remember. It's like George, the original George Bush. He couldn't get elected, but his son ended up getting elected. But he was also the leader of the CIA before that, which is just kind of funny that you go into like the CIA. There's some crazy things that went on in the CIA, especially around the.
I think
the 50s
one
and
of the
60s.
I think one of the craziest like conspiracy theories I've ever read about is the whole alien thing with the Roswell crash. That's not a conspiracy I believe in, because the thing is, like, so when they came up with that story for it being an alien spacecraft, that was actually an initial cover-up of something they really were trying to do. So what they were trying to do is they were trying to create this new piece of technology that spied on the Russians. And so in order to cover it up, the initial story was it's a flying saucer, which is the most bizarre thing. And then they were like, oh, shit, we can't say that. That's fucking stupid. So then they were like, okay, it's a weather balloon. And so that was the next story they came up with. It wasn't until like 30 or 40 years later that it turns out what it was a really advanced piece of technology they were trying to use to spy on the Russians. So basically what it was supposed to do is it was supposed to basically measure nuclear tests like the Russians were trying to do. The funny thing is, people to this day still think it was an alien spacecraft, even though the government has come out and said, hey, we're declassifying this. This was a really advanced piece of technology we were trying to use to spy on the Russians with, basically.
What about the Alien Autopsy that was released? Do you think that was probably like a
Fake.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, have you ever seen a body after it's been exposed to like something that is like truly like nuclear? What happens to the body? Yeah. Or somebody who has cancer that went through chemo, where they lose all their skin goes gray, they lose all their hair, they lose their body dysmorphia.
So people that say they get abducted, people who say they've seen flying saucers, people who say they've seen all this stuff.
It's a bad trip.
Yeah. So no, it's not necessarily a bad trip. So what they think it is, psychologically speaking, is what was really popular in the early 50s is a lot of science fiction movies depicting alien invaders coming from other planets. So what they think happened is people would watch these movies and they started having basically like, because the human mind is a really weird thing. It can basically play tricks on you. So what they think happened is a lot of people were having dreams and stuff about this stuff, thinking it was some kind of abduction. But really what it was is they were having dreams about the movies they were watching, because the early 50s was very popular with like science fiction films.
Kind of like with when they did the H.G. Wells.
War of the
Worlds. Yeah, when they were doing it over the radio. Now the irony is there's a little bit of a lie behind that. So yes, people did really have like that mass hysteria, but it was actually a very isolated section. There was the argument is that it happened all over the entire country. It didn't happen like that. It was actually a small town, and there was newspapers got a hold of it, and then the newspapers made it bigger.
We're always looking for a good story.
Now, do I think alien life exists in the universe? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's probably civilizations that are more advanced than us, and probably civilizations a lot more primitive than us. Now, have they been here? I don't think so. I mean, I don't
think they care about us.
Yeah, I don't think
we've been blocked.
I don't honestly I don't think they would care enough about us.
Shadow banned.
Cancel culture.
Because some people are like, oh well, we'd be as interesting as apes. I was like, no, I think we'd be about as interesting as ants. Like, how often do you think about ants?
So I mean, I'm not saying that I disagree with the advanced part. I don't know that part, but I mean, we've already proven that it is possible for life to exist in a vacuum. So I mean, I mean, the thing is the probability. I actually saw like the actual probability is a mathematical equation.
Yeah, it's called the Drake equation. If the really advanced civilizations out there would be there'd only be like a handful of them.
Yeah, and I mean, it won't even. And they've already said that it would not even be in our galaxy because where we are in the Milky Way, we're actually in the what it's called the something locks.
The
Goldilocks, yeah, the Goldilocks.
Well, our planet's in the Goldilocks zone. There's like so they classify stars with their exoplanets, and they can classify because we can actually look at exoplanets and planets now. We can actually determine whether or not it's habitable because. If we become advanced one day and start visiting those star systems, those are probably going to be planets we're going to want to colonize.
I mean, that would make the most sense. But where we are in the galaxy, we can't. If we were anywhere else on like the little band that we are on the outer rim of the Milky Way, if we were anywhere closer, the amount of radiation, cosmic radiation, it would immediately eradicate us. So the likelihood of there even being another culture at all that can sustain life, or another culture that exists or had exist, is so low. So I mean, if we're going to explore that as an option,
Well, that's also assuming that they are similar to us. And
Well, no,
their
I
genetic
think
makeup,
they're out there,
but-
but I'm kind of with him. I think that because of the probability of life developing, because there's so many factors that leads to something like us. I think the probability of those civilizations, like how many there are, I think the number is really low. And when you think about the vastness of our galaxy, the probability of you trying to talk to them is very slim to none because they would be so. Like, I mean, these civilizations could be on the other side of the galaxy. How the hell would we ever talk to them?
Well, it could be like the fart from Rick and Morty, though. It could just like a fog slowly creeps in. I mean, because you don't really know the nature of reality past what we've found. I mean, granted, like we can imagine and we can like pretend. I mean, the way I look at it is, it's like we have flashlights that we look at from the Earth. We can see pretty far.
Well,
but there's things that we can't even comprehend.
But
potentially,
there's
intelligence
a
that we
pretty
can't
solid
comprehend.
theory now that we're probably some of the earliest advanced life in our galaxy. Like our galaxy is relatively young compared to a lot of other galaxies. Apparently,
yeah, because they could be a stuff like decay.
yeah. So I mean, we could be some of the first advanced life, and maybe. This is going to sound really far-fetched, but maybe we're going to be responsible for seeding life in our own galaxy. What if we're the civilization that does that?
I mean, I would like to see that. They've done some pretty cool research. So I spend way too much time reading stuff that I probably shouldn't. But the idea of like warp drive, I mean, that's something that like everybody when I was a kid, I mean, I watched a ton of Star Trek and Star Wars and
Me too.
everything that was so far fetched, but now it's kind of ironic because they're actually talking about can we ever hit a like light speed? Well, our bodies can never handle it, but we can get close, is what the argument is. And that's the kind of the question I think about. Like, okay, how it's going to be generational ships. At the end of the day, it's going to be like a generational ship situation.
Well, you got to kind of start small. Like right now, we can't even stay in space longer than a year without losing bone density permanently.
Well, that's because we don't have artificial gravity.
Yeah, I mean, and see, that's where you got to start. I mean, yeah, light speed is very important to like get out to the outer reaches and be able to expand.
So
but you have to be able to even just leave the neighborhood as well.
Well, no, I have an argument towards like gravity. So I thought about that because that was one of the things that like popped up in my head. Maybe we're building our ships the wrong way. Maybe okay, so maybe it's a thrust issue. So why don't the thrust create the gravity?
Or like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Remember in the center portion they had one that rotated.
It's spin.
It's like, and it's actually possible if you spin something in enough of a force, you can actually generate 1G, which is our planet.
Remember the things in the carnivals that spin around really fast, and you try,
Yeah, and you
know,
can't
those
get away
like-
from it.
Those are the greatest things in the world. Why don't we have those anymore? I feel like there is a conspiracy behind that because honestly, I could be in there for like hours.
I think
if
too
I
many
could drink a
people-
beer while I'm doing it, I'd be the
I'm
greatest.
telling
in the
you,
world.
big government just doesn't want us to have fun.
I think too many people just lost their lunch in the mall.
And so they had to get rid of it. So, but yeah, there's there's a physicist that actually came up with an equation that actually allows for a warp drive to work in our known universe. His name is Miguel. He's a Mexican physicist. His name is Miguel Abiru. I think it's like some weird last name. Just look up Miguel warp drive, and you can see it.
Miguel warp drive.
What about the Bob Lazar explanation of how the alien craft that he studied moves through space? That somehow creates a wave that actually cuts.
So I don't know if I believe Bob Lazar's story, man. It's got a lot of holes in it, man.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's pretty hokey. I mean, he's had consistency over the years, but like he could have just coached himself into like.
Well, the thing
keeping
is,
that line,
like he did work at Los Alamos like base.
Yeah.
But they can't prove a lot of things about him though, like where he went to school. I mean, yeah, they'll say they got rid of his records, but that's like really hard to do something like that, you know.
So the guy you're talking about, Miguel.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to say his last name because it's crazy. But he was finishing an equation basically from Einstein's.
Yeah.
And it's not actually traveling, as opposed to traveling at the speed or warp speed, as we're talking about, light speed. It's actually more talking about folding space, which is a theory that Einstein had. Was instead of like why do that if time, because it's all based off of time.
And see, I like his approach to that, because like you said, humans can't accelerate close to the speed of light, so it would destroy us. But something like that, you wouldn't be accelerating. It would look like you're not even moving.
So you're talking about like some event horizon sort of.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So the idea is that time is an actual physical construct. It's like, so the first thing is that light. We know light bends. If light bends, that also means time. You can measure light with time. So that means that time itself also bends. And the thing is, like, this is like actually theory that is not really theory anymore. They've actually learned this as fact. So it's not a matter of like getting to one place to another. It's more like we can fold time, and if you could fold time, that means you can also fold space, because light moves at acts to gravity, and gravity, you need space to create gravity.
But are you going to turn whatever is in the ship or whatever into jelly in the process?
Well, yeah, the thing is, like, that's a good question. Like, what is the force? Because it's a gravity situation, in my opinion. Yeah. So I'm sorry, like, I know our gravity. How much gravity do you need to slap two different sections together? And if you're in the middle, are you going to be the jelly?
Well, to be fair, he's the guy who came up with that theory. He said it'd probably be thousands of years before we would even try to attempt like this type of space travel too.
And he also brought up that this is actually way faster than light speed, which is, I mean,
he said with his, if everything checks out okay, he said like Alpha Centauri, which is the closest star system to us, he said it would take a couple hours to reach there if this worked, basically.
Well, I'm sure the next step in space exploration would have to be like drone kind of, because as the more advanced we're getting as far as like robotics and stuff, we're gonna have to start sending AI. And
well, that's what they think really advanced civilizations in the universe would be. It wouldn't be biological anymore. We'd probably encounter like really advanced machines, basically.
So we would abandon our carbon base, and I mean, so we would abandon carbon base and go. Like, that's the silicone base then.
Yeah, well, it makes much more sense because you don't need to breathe air because there's no air in space. You basically live forever.
Yeah, the rate of decay is minimized. I mean, everything dies. Let's just be real. Everything dies. So even like. When you look at a piece of metal, you see rust. That's oxidation. So everything does decay. So, but the thing is, instead of it being where our innate bodies live for between 60 to 90 years, a silicone base could be thousands.
Maybe even hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, because you could replace parts. I mean, look at Pamela Anderson. I mean, how many parts did she replace?
But
all of them.
Where does the soul reside? Does the soul reside in the the brainstorm that you have?
Well, I guess that
is
depends.
It in your entire nervous system?
But that depends on who you talk to.
How do you capture it? How do you transfer it?
But that depends on who you talk to. I mean, scientifically speaking, their souls are bullshit.
When I say soul, I mean, that's a catch term. I understand that's related to religious.
Yeah, because technically,
the ghost in the machine. So, where's the ghost in the machine live?
So your consciousness is here in your brain, and they've actually have studies where they show people who have had brain damage and they become different people. They're not the person that they were before. So I mean, that's not exactly proven there's no soul, but it's very interesting.
So
right?
But there's chickens that live without a head as well.
Well, is it more of a question of that they're a different person, or is it that they're not able to be the complete person that they were before?
Well, the personality changes.
Well, personality. So there was a doctor that used to he would know when somebody was about to die. They knew that they were about to die. He would wave them, and this is actually like a theory. It's a theory, but like it's actually pretty interesting. So he would wave them, and then right when it died, he would wave them again, and there was a weight difference. And the argument is that like the soul leaving the body has weight. Now it's interesting because like if the more I kept on reading about this, I'm like, okay, that's kind of a neat perspective, and there's nothing scientific that can argue why did it weigh different. I mean, some people can say, well, air weighs something, but the thing is air is static in your body. So, and I mean, I don't know about you. There's no. Oh my gosh.
That's loud.
Yeah, that was
Somebody
loud.
has a
I
problem.
studied Chinese medicine a little bit because I got acupuncture and I was pretty interested in it. But on that perspective, in Chinese medicine, they actually believe that you're kind of like a soft cell not a soft cell battery. Like your entire body is a soft cell battery. So like this is just kind of what I picked up is like your blood is sort of it's like the salt water. I mean, think you can make a salt battery like the old Baghdad battery or whatever. So the blood is similar to like, I believe the negative, and then like what they call the chi or the life force is the positive, and supposedly your perineum, which is your taint, is your negative, and your belly button is your positive.
You better take that crazy conspiracy theory. You better just get out of here with that
All
shit.
right, the birds don't exist though. All right, let's get on with this. All right, the birds don't exist.
But supposedly like that's like to them that's what the ghost in the machine is. Is like it's basically like you're a soft cell battery essentially. I mean when your body's making electricity, when you get an EKG or whatever, they're measuring the electrical pulses in you. So
that's actually that's very true because if you think about it, your blood is actually acidic. Yeah. So that's actually one of the reasons why we have to drink water.
The reason why electricity runs through your body is that's why you got to have sodium in your blood. Sodium is a conductor of electricity.
That's right.
Yeah.
Your brain is actually just a bunch of fat.
That's why if you eat a low sodium diet,
especially mine after watching all that crappy TV over the years.
But we're actually at the 5-minute mark, guys.
Wow.
So
it went fast.
I know. This is a very interesting bunch of topics right here.
So I guess we should have our closing statements.
So I didn't get to my last conspiracy, which was crab people, but that's okay.
Wait, we have already gone over this. The crab people are with the mimes.
I know.
Right now, they're using the Space Force to put a laser on the moon to target us because all they need is the birds to locate us, and then they can use a precision
so the birds
strike.
are part of this
Yes,
theory now?
yes. The birds are part of the Space Force Crab People Mime Alliance.
And this is why I never leave my bunker. Now.
This is the first time I haven't had like tinfoil on. This is the only time I don't have tinfoil.
What about the
on.
lizard people? That was. Like
Don't worry about the lizard people.
They're going to stay in their holes.
They will. Yeah. They know that Americans have gotten stronger and dumber, so they have to worry about us either beating them to death with rocks and bottles or shooting them.
Well, in conclusion, what we learned today is that some of these conspiracies might be true, but most of them are just probably fucking garbage.
Yes.
Essentially, it just makes for good nighttime TV, and selling books. I think a lot of conspiracies are just people just trying to sell books.
I also think that a lot of people got bored and just came up with something, and they're like, "I want to see if someone's going to believe this."
But speaking of conspiracies, so we kind of give our guests the last little stuff they can say, and I know you have a movie coming out that has to do with the alien abduction thing.
The aliens, it was written by me and Elizabeth Devine. It's called Alien Snails from Uranus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's a little hokey, completely I would call it like a C- movie that we made in our basement, and.
Yeah, I helped him make it too. I was I played the foreman that was being a dick to him, and then I also did some of the puppetry work too.
Yeah, we made it over through the pandemic. It was a love child of the pandemic.
This is gonna be a great cult classic. I can already see it.
Yeah,
I'm actually super excited to. Y'all never see me, but I will.
The alien abduction scene is pretty cool looking. It looks really cool.
Is there a probing scene?
You don't see the probing scene, but
is it setting up for the sequel?
Anything's on the table at this point. It all depends on,
Does the foreman come back?
Well, the foreman gets. Well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, don't give away. Don't.
Oh, plot twist. Here.
Essentially, it's
that was titillizing.
It's like a southern rock opera mixed with bad science fiction movies from the '80s, a la some of the more horrible ones.
Yeah. So when you watch it when you're in the there's a part in the movie where you're literally watching like them inside of the trailer, and it's just very like the way he lit it. It just looks very surreal. Like it looks like just something's like really off.
Yeah.
Putting.
The way you explained it is kind of good. It's kind of like a fever dream.
Yeah, it's like a fever dream.
When's the release?
It all depends on how the edit's gonna go. It should be before Halloween, but that's probably just gonna be to the cast and the crew.
Yeah, because I'm gonna try to come help him on Sunday because part of the deal for him coming and doing the podcast is come finish the movie, which is I had a lot to do with the movie too, so I need to get it done. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be entertaining to say the least, for sure.
But that's pretty much it. Like I said, I think the takeaway from this is most conspiracies are just crazy, crappy, weird ass conspiracies, but some can be true.
Yeah.
But as always, check out our social media links. Go to our website. Nick over here is just begging you guys to go buy that COVID mask on our merch store.
I just want you not to die
Yeah, he doesn't want you to die.
yet.
And you need to go check out our Patreon account. And as always, please comment because it helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you like just listening to the audio only, we are on 25 different platforms, audio only as well.
Yes.
So I think that's it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
That's his close. He always does the closing.
Stay sexy, Atlanta. And shut the fuck up. Just because you're the guest doesn't make you special.
I'm taking over.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Dumb, Cool, and Weird podcast with Wes and Nick. If you want to check out more of our stuff, go to www.dumbcoolweird.com. You'll find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon link if you want to support us. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. And if you're interested in being on our podcast, you can find a link on our website so you can reach out to us and tell us if you want to talk to us about something that's really weird, dumb, or cool. We'd be glad to hear from you. Hope you will stay tuned for the next weird ass episodes we got. Thank you.